And hello, my little mathematicians. Today, we're going to help you get started on C-37. Again, that is C-37. Okay, we are going to be either reviewing or just starting how to add fractions. Whether you're adding or subtracting fractions, you first of all need to get what's called a common denominator. Notice how the denominator is the bottom number in a fraction. Here it's 3, here it's 4. Those are not common. A common one is what number can they both multiply to become? Both 3 and 4 can multiply to become 12. So 12 is a common denominator. Notice how on this worksheet, every single common denominator between the two denominators in the problem are provided. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. Okay, for number 1, what did you multiply the 4 by in order to become 12? A 3. So multiply 4 times 3 and you get 12. Whatever you multiply the bottom by, do the same thing on top. And 1 times 3 is 3. All right, now let's also look at this fraction right here. What did you multiply the 3 by in order to become 12? A 4. So then multiply the same thing up top here, and 2 times 4 is 8. Remember, the reason we did that is because 8 twelfths is the same as 2/3. If you were to reduce 8 twelfths by 4, you'd get 2/3, because 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. And the reason I could do this is it created an equivalent or equal fraction to itself because you multiplied essentially by 1. The same number over itself is 1, right? 4 over 4 is 1. 3 over 3 is 1. So if you multiply anything by 1, it keeps its sense of identity. It remains the same value. And that's why 8 twelfths is called an equivalent fraction to 2/3. And 3 twelfths is equivalent to 1/4. Now that I have common denominators, and it's still the same numbers that I started with, they just are renamed, so to speak. Now I can combine the numerators and keep the denominator the same. So keep the denominator of 12 the same, and then just add the numerators. 8 plus 3 is 11. If you can reduce it, or if it's improper, meaning the top is bigger than the bottom, then you would take the top divided by the bottom to change it from an improper to a mixed. But this is a proper fraction, and it can't reduce, so I am done. Let's try a little bit harder one, like one of the ones I was just talking about. Okay, let's skip ahead to number 4. Remember, if you ever want to try it on your own first, hit pause and then come back, press play and check yourself. Okay, 2 times what is 6? 3. So then do the same thing on top. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times what is 6? 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Remember, 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3 and 3/6 is equivalent to a half. So now that I renamed them as equivalent fractions but with common denominators, I can combine them. Keep the denominator the same and then add your numerators. 4 plus 3 is 7. This is why I said this one was a little bit trickier, because this is improper. The top is bigger than the bottom. So to fix that, take the top, divide it by the bottom. Remember, in and out, inside the house, outside the house. Our top dog goes in, right? Okay. Remember, this is also a dividing line, so you can go this divided by that. So the thing that's being divided goes inside, and the thing that you're dividing by goes on the outside. Regardless of how you learned it, hopefully you knew to put 7 on the inside and 6 on the outside. Now 6 goes into 7 once. 1 times 6 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. So you put your remainder of 1 over what you divided by, which was 6. Okay, now 7/6 is the same thing as 1 and 1/6, because 6 went into 7 once, you had a remainder of 1, and again, you divided by 6. That's my final answer, because you can't reduce 1/6. Let's go ahead and look at number 13. Okay, if we look down at the bottom, number 13 says 5 times what is 10? Well, 2. So then 4 times 2 is 8. 10 times what is 10? 1. So 7 times 1 is 7. Now that you have the denominators the same, keep them the same. 8 plus 7 is 15. Just like on problem number 4, this is improper. So take the top, divide it by the bottom. 10 goes into 15 once, and 1 times 10 is 10. When you subtract 15 minus 10, you get 5, so you put your remainder over what you divided by. That means 15 over 10 is the same as 1 and 5/10. Now, if I were to search for that answer down here, I wouldn't find it because 5/10 can reduce by 5. I like to write what I'm dividing by just that you don't do something silly. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And don't forget that whole number out in front. So 15 over 10 is the same as 1 and 5/10 or 1 1/2. To figure out the riddle at the bottom, each time you get an answer, you cross it off. So we found number 1 was 11/12. And number 4 was 1 1/6. Number 13 is 1 1/2. Notice how I didn't write any of those letters down here because you do not write until you're done with all of them. You've crossed them all off, and then you write down whatever's left remaining. All right, hopefully this will help you get good practice getting common denominators when adding fractions because you can't start adding until you have that common denominator. Good job, guys.